So this is a JavaScript puzzle. We take an array and we put 7 items in it. 10, 9, 8, 3, 2, 1, 0. All numbers. Then we run the JavaScript sort function on the array. And the puzzle is, what is now the third item or the index 2 item of the array? Seems straightforward, right? Well, there's a trick to it. So here's the solution to the puzzle. First, run the first line of code. That does exactly what you'd expect. Now, to know what the second line of code is going to do, we have to understand the JavaScript sort function. Let's look at the documentation and see what it has to say. So, at the top of the docs about the JavaScript sort function, we see that the default sort order is based on converting all of the elements in the array into strings and comparing those strings character by character. So basically what we have is an alphabetical sort where numbers are also considered as letters. And right below here, there's a useful example. We see an array with 5 numbers, and when we sort that array, 100,000 is sorted in between the numbers 1 and 21. That's an alphabetical sort. So let's go back to the puzzle, and now we have an idea of what this sort function is actually going to do. Let's run it. So there you go. It sorts the array as 0, 1, 10, and then 2. The 10 is getting sorted before the 2 because the first character in 10 is a 1, and that's less than the first character in 2, which is a 2. Now we can go on to the final line of code, and now we see that the third item is a 10. So that's the answer to the puzzle. But I can tell you're not satisfied. You still want to know, how do I use the sort function to actually properly sort numbers? That's what I expected it to do. Well, let's look back at the docs. So here under the parameters of the sort function, you can see a compare function parameter. That parameter is how you can program the sort function. You can tell it how to compare any 2 items, and it will use that function to sort the entire array. So this is actually a function that you define, and then you pass it to the sort function. So what does this function have to return? So the compare function that you're defining, it takes 2 parameters. And if you want to sort the first parameter after the second parameter, you have to return a number greater than 0. If you want to sort the first parameter before the second parameter, you have to return a number less than 0. And if you return 0, that means these numbers are in the same position. It doesn't matter which one comes first or second. So imagine that we would define compare function to return a minus b. Well, if a is 10 and b is 5, then 10 minus 5 is a positive number, and that means that a will be sorted after b. So 10 will be sorted after 5. Now imagine a is 5 and b is 10. Well, 5 minus 10 is a negative number. A will be sorted before b, so 5 will be sorted before 10. It sounds good, so let's try it out. I will use a arrow function, which is just a really clean and neat way to define a JavaScript function in one line of code. And let's use y and z since a and b are already used here. And that should do it. So that's how you use JavaScript code to properly sort an array of numbers. Hope you learned something.